guys, today I'm going to show you my natural everyday contour and highlight routine, and this is in no way going to be one of those super dramatic ones that you see pictures all over Pinterest and Instagram. This is going to be something that is actually wearable for every day. Those types of routines are beautiful for photography and filming, but for every day it just looks too much. I'm gonna show you guys how I like to do it to make it look natural and not like you're wearing a ton of makeup. I do already have a little bit of tinted moisturizer on my face, which is pretty much what I wear on a day-to-day basis. I don't usually go for foundation, so I am going to show you some of the products that I use to highlight and contour and some of the brushes too. But do keep in mind that these are just the products that work for me and the ones that I like, and there's so many different things out there that you can use, but you kind of just have to play around with things and see what works for you. I'm going to start off by showing you guys a few products that I like to use for highlighting that give me the most natural look and without looking cakey. One of them is drugstore, and I did just mention this in my drugstore makeup starter kit, and this is the L'Oreal True Match Anti-Fatigue Illuminating Concealer. So this is quite a bit lighter than my skin tone, and the other is the MAC Mineralize Concealer in NW15, which is even lighter than this, I think, so I only use it on like certain areas because I don't want it to look too dramatic. To blend out the highlighters, I like to use beauty blenders, and these are my absolute favorite beauty tool in the entire world. They're amazing. They give you the most natural and flawless finish to your skin, but if you can't afford it, there are knockoff versions, but they don't work as well as the original. If you do want to use a brush, you can go with something a little bit more affordable, like the Real Techniques contour brush. It says contour, but I like to use it for highlighting, and you can use it for contour as well, but you don't want to use it if you're also using it for highlighting because that will just mix up the colors. So on to the products that I use for contouring. Most of the time I go for powders, but I also use cream products sometimes, but the first one I want to show you is a drugstore product, and it's by Essence. This is the Sun Club Bronzer for Blondes. This is a matte powder, and anytime you contour you want to use a matte powder because anything shimmery will just make things look a little bit more emphasized, and that's not what you want when you contour. The other product that I use sometimes to contour is the Chanel Soleil Tandy Chanel Bronzing Makeup Base, which is a cream-based product, and I don't use this one very often, but I can get a really natural looking contour out of it, but it can be built up to be a little bit more dramatic as well. But this is just another type of a product that you could use to contour. This one is something that you would use underneath your powder or even your foundation if you wanted to get a super natural looking contour, and it'll just kind of show through your foundation and not look like you're wearing a ton of it. Whether or not you're using cream or powder, it doesn't matter. It's totally personal preference, which I say all the time, but it's true. And if you are going to use a cream product for contouring, you should be using synthetic brushes, and these are by Sedona Lace, and I love all of these. All of these can be used to contour. Basically, if the brush is smaller, you will get a more precise and dramatic contour, but then you just blend it out. But you can also get like bigger tapered blending or fluffy brushes because these will give you a more softer contour and it won't look as harsh. If you do prefer powder for contouring, then you can go with the natural bristle brushes, and you can pretty much get these anywhere, and then the same goes for the types of shapes. Okay, so now I'm going to finally show you guys how I highlight, and I'm going to use the L'Oreal highlighting pen because pretty much anybody can get it since it's drugstore. And when you highlight, you want to draw attention to certain parts of your face. So most people highlight wherever the light would naturally hit your face. So on the cheekbones, underneath the eyes, and your brow bone, and then the center of the forehead and chin. So it's pretty much all of like the center higher points of your face. Contouring and highlighting will change depending on what type of face shape you have, so whatever I'm going to do doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work on everyone, but I'm just going to show you guys what I do for my face shape specifically. So I'll start with my under eye area, and I always like to do like a triangle type shape because it is the most flattering on most people. So pretty much I just start by drawing like a little dash here, and then I'll just drag it up the side of my face. A little trick I like to do with my nose is, since it is already quite defined, sometimes I will actually highlight on the sides of my nose, so I'll just draw like a little line on both sides, and this will actually make it look like my nose isn't as tall or like as far away from my face. I also like to emphasize a little bit between the brows and then on top and below my brow bone. This will also help make your eyebrows look a little bit more defined if you're going to fill them in. I have a big forehead, so I don't like to put very much highlight up here because that would make it look even bigger. But the rest of the places that I like to highlight are on the center of the chin and then the top of the Cupid's bow. So I will pretty much look like this, and then I will just take my beauty blender and then blend it all out. And as you can probably tell already, it is making a pretty big difference, but it doesn't look super dramatic. So that is pretty much it for my everyday highlighting, and now I'm just going to show you guys how I contour, and today I'm just going to use the Essence Sun Club bronzer because this is pretty much what I've been using since I bought it, and it's also drugstore, so pretty much anybody can get it. And for applying the bronzer, I'm going to use the Sedona Lace FB05 brush, which is basically just a contouring brush. I'm not going to use a lot of this at first because it's a lot easier to build up a contour as you're going rather than putting way too much on at first. So I'm just going to dip the brush in a few times and then tap off the excess, and I'm going to start by finding out where my cheekbone ends. So the very bottom of my cheekbone, I actually like to contour on the bottom of the cheekbone. A lot of people say to contour underneath, but I like to do it on the bottom because I find that that makes my cheekbones look a little bit more sharper, and if you contour down here, it can kind of make your whole upper area look very full. If that's what you're going for, that's fine, but this is what I like to do. So my cheekbone actually ends down here, but I'm going to put my contour slightly higher. I always make this face when I contour. So I'm just going to start by brushing it onto that spot, and you don't want to go too far into your face. Pretty much I will stop my contour around the end of my iris, so I don't want to go any further in because that can start to look a little funny. And then I blend it out just using circular motions. And I'm also blending mostly upwards. You do want to blend slightly down so that you don't have an extremely harsh line, but you mostly want to blend upwards. So that is pretty much the most contouring I would ever do on an everyday basis because it looks super natural, but you can also see a definition of my cheekbone. So I'm just going to do the same to the other side. I also like to contour around the diameter of my hairline and forehead because, like I said, I do have a slightly larger forehead, so I do like to contour slightly just to make it look a little bit smaller. And I'm also going to use just circular motions, and I'm basically buffing it into my hairline and then slightly onto the sides of my forehead and the top. I also apply a little bit of the bronzer underneath my chin and jawline and just slightly down my neck, and this isn't necessarily to contour, but it is just to sort of warm up my skin because I do have all of this other bronzer on the top of my face, so I kind of want to just balance it out. So I'm also just going to go in like circular motions along my jawline and down my neck. This does contour a little bit, but it's mostly just to balance out my face and not have my chin blend into my neck because I do want that definition. And then the very last place that I like to contour is just on the end of my nose. So I like to do the sides here and then the very bottom down here, and then sometimes I'll do like one pass over, and it kind of gives the illusion of like that cute button nose. So I'll take a really small fluffy brush and then I'll just kind of dust it along the sides down here, and it makes it look less bulbous. That's the only word I can think. That sounds so gross, but it's true. This brush, by the way, is from a brand called Hakuhodo, and these are not cheap, but they are amazing and they're so soft, and I always get them at the iMats event that comes to Vancouver, and I get one every year, and they're kind of like my little treat to myself. Okay, so this is my final contour and highlight look. This is, I think, pretty natural, and it can go with any makeup look whatsoever, so I hope that it helped you guys out. Please leave me a comment below what you thought, and also give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Also, don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!